Good evening. Tonight we're exploring the US dollar, not just America's money, but the world's. The dollar powers global trade, connecting buyers and sellers from Colombia to China. Why does this one currency hold so much power? Its story is about history, power, and trust. After World War II, the US emerged as an economic anchor, offering stability to a world in chaos. That decision still shapes our lives today, influencing everything from gas prices to international politics. The dollar's dominance creates winners and losers, stability for some, uncertainty for others. We'll unpack how global trade works, how the dollar rose to the top, and what advantages this gives the US. But we'll also examine the risks and challenges for countries that rely on American money. The balance of power is delicate, with the dollar at its center. Is the dollar's reign permanent? Or are new challengers emerging? Countries like China and Russia are seeking alternatives, and digital currencies could change the game. The world of money is evolving. The questions we ask tonight matter to everyone, everywhere. Will the dollar remain king? And what would a world without its dominance look like? Let's dive in. The story of the dollar is the story of our interconnected world. Let's start with the basics. Global trade is like a giant farmer's market, but on a worldwide scale. Countries buy and sell what they're best at producing: Brazil's coffee, Germany's cars, Japan's electronics. No nation can make everything, so they trade to get what they need. This is called comparative advantage. Specializing makes everyone better off. Without global trade, your choices would be limited and expensive. Look around, your TV, your shirt, your wine, all likely traveled across borders. This flow of goods connects billions of people in a shared economic system. But for trade to work smoothly, everyone needs to agree on what money to use. If Japan wants to buy oil from Saudi Arabia, what currency should they use? Agreeing on a common currency makes trade simpler and safer. It removes the hassle of constant currency conversion. That's why the world eventually settled on a single, trusted currency for international business. The need for a universal financial language set the stage for the dollar's rise. The world's marketplace needed a common denominator, and the US dollar became it. But how did that happen? Countries need a common currency for trade, a reserve currency. Think of it as a global savings account. Central banks hold large amounts of this trusted money. Why? To pay international debts, buy vital imports, and stabilize their own currencies. For a currency to become the world's reserve, it must be stable, backed by a strong economy, and trusted not to lose value overnight. It also needs to be widely available and easy to exchange. Liquidity is key. Deep, open financial markets make it attractive for global transactions. If a currency is hard to get or use, it won't become the world's default. When a currency becomes the primary reserve, it's no longer just national money. It's a pillar of the global system. The US dollar achieved this status. Most international trade is priced in dollars, and central banks hold dollars as their main reserve. This gives the US a unique advantage, like owning the casino where everyone plays with your chips. The dollar's dominance is about trust, convenience, and power. But how did it get there? The answer lies in a pivotal moment in history. The world needed stability, and the dollar delivered. But that trust had to be earned, and it all started at Bretton Woods. The dollar's rise wasn't luck. It was forged in crisis. Before World War II, the British pound ruled global finance. But the war devastated Europe, while the US emerged stronger than ever. In 1944, leaders from 44 countries met in Bretton Woods to design a new economic order. They pegged major currencies to the US dollar and the dollar to gold. This made the dollar as good as gold, backed by America's vast reserves. For nearly 30 years, this system brought stability and fueled global trade. But by the late 1960s, US spending outpaced its gold reserves. Other countries grew nervous and started demanding gold for their dollars. In 1971, President Nixon ended the dollar's convertibility to gold, the Nixon shock. Many thought this would end the dollar's reign, but the world was already built around the dollar, and there was no clear alternative. Oil-producing countries kept pricing oil in dollars, creating constant demand. The dollar's dominance continued, now based on trust in the US economy, not gold. The system had changed, but the dollar stayed on top. Trust, habit, and America's economic might kept it there. The world's financial plumbing was set, and the dollar was the main pipe. Even without gold, the dollar remained the world's anchor. Its story is one of adaptation and resilience, and its power only grew. But what does this mean for the US? And what about everyone else? The benefits and the burdens are enormous. Let's look at what being on top really means. The US enjoys what's called an exorbitant privilege. It can buy goods from anywhere using its own money, while others must earn dollars first. The US can run trade deficits year after year, simply printing more dollars to pay for imports. There's also a huge demand for US government bonds, letting America borrow at lower interest rates. This saves billions in interest payments and frees up money for other priorities. The dollar's dominance gives the US powerful geopolitical leverage. Washington can impose sanctions by cutting off access to the dollar system, crippling economies without firing a shot. The US is insulated from currency crises that devastate other nations. If the dollar falls, US exports become cheaper and debts are easier to pay. No other country enjoys this level of economic security. The dollar's status is a shield and a sword. It's a unique position, one that shapes global politics and economics. But this privilege comes at a cost for others. The world's reliance on the dollar creates real challenges. Let's see how. For many countries, the dollar's dominance is a double-edged sword. Developing nations often borrow in dollars but earn in their own currency. If their currency falls, their dollar debts balloon overnight, sometimes triggering crises. Imagine Turkey borrows $1 billion when the exchange rate is 10 lira to the dollar. If the lira drops to 20, their debt doubles in local terms. This can bankrupt companies and governments, hurting ordinary people. Countries must keep enough dollars in reserve to pay for vital imports like oil and medicine. To get dollars, they may adopt policies that aren't best for their citizens, like keeping interest rates high to attract foreign capital. Their economic independence is limited by the need for a foreign currency. US sanctions add another layer of pressure. Even allies can be forced to follow US policy or risk being cut off from the dollar system. America's reach extends far beyond its borders. For many, the dollar is both a lifeline and a leash. The global system creates stability but also vulnerability, and the effects are felt everywhere. The dollar's power is visible in daily life. Americans traveling abroad often find their dollars accepted or easily exchanged. Travelers from other countries must convert their money to dollars first, losing value each time. Oil is priced in dollars, so if your currency weakens, gas prices rise at home. In unstable economies, people rush to dollars as a safe haven, sometimes using it more than their own currency. This dollarization shows deep trust in the dollar, especially when local money fails. Even international business contracts are often written in dollars, reducing risk for both sides. The dollar is the world's financial common ground. It's the language of global commerce. But cracks are starting to show. The dollar's dominance is being challenged. China and Russia are leading efforts to reduce reliance on the dollar, so-called de-dollarization. China encourages trade in yuan, and Russia demands rubles for its gas. The euro is a contender, but lacks a unified bond market. New technologies like digital currencies could bypass the dollar entirely. Imagine Nigeria paying China directly in digital yuan, no US bank involved. These changes are small now, but the trend is clear. The world is slowly chipping away at the dollar's foundation. The future may hold several key currencies, not just one. The dollar's crown isn't gone, but it's no longer unchallenged. The next chapter is being written. So, where does this leave us? The dollar's dominance is built on trust, stability, and America's economic might. But the world is becoming more multipolar, with China, Russia, and the Eurozone seeking alternatives. No single currency matches the dollar's trust and liquidity, yet. The process of de-dollarization is real, but slow. The future may see several major currencies sharing the stage. The dollar will likely remain the most important, but not alone at the top. Its reign is not guaranteed, it's a product of history and power. As the world changes, so will the world of money. The story of the dollar is far from over.